And we are live. Welcome everybody to a special weekend edition of the RepRapUp. I am Pooch, aka Repkord, and I am here today with a very special guest, my good friend Van Full of Puppies, aka Nick Angers. And we would love to share our experiences with you today on two topics. The first being a wrap up on Makerfaire. Hold on. Mute that.
Nope, you're good.
Yeah, I was getting a little echoey there. Had some feedback. So we're gonna talk Makerfaire, New York Makerfaire. Just back from that, good times. Lots of interesting stuff we picked up there, and then we're also gonna talk about the upcoming ERRF festival, which I guess is redundant since the F is in there, right, Nick? But
that I would.
Yeah, but for those of you familiar with Murph. ERRF is the new Murph, or it's another Murph or something. We'll get into that. We'll get into that. All in good time. So, you know what? I'm getting a lot of glare off of these. Although, you know, the focus group was saying go with the glasses because, you know, the nerdy thing is really playing in this space. But I feel like the studio lighting and stuff in here is a little too distracting. So we'll go without for right now.
Yeah, you're getting glare off the glasses. I'm getting glare off the head. I look like a White Walker. I'm so whitewashed here.
Yeah. Well, Nick is not as white. He's pretty white, but he's not that white.
Albino white.
Yeah. So Nick, maybe we should start off. We don't get to see.
Oh, hold on. I've actually got to film like a stage crew right now. Oh my God. I'm not sure that's any better. No, that is no. You're killing me.
How many lights are on you right now? It looks like the paparazzi are taking pictures.
It's kind of what it feels like. Hold on. Apparently we've got a whole. Oh, wow. What do you know? That's better. I'm slightly.
Is Lauren back there with the floodlight? You getting hit with the floodlight?
Yeah. Well, we've got side lighting and front lighting. This is impressive. I needed a makeup person before this, but I think we're good.
Yeah, she didn't hit you with the makeup, huh? The little poof thing?
No, I did not get the makeup treatment before this.
Right. Well, we'll get there. You know, production value, we introduce new elements from time to time. So anyway, why don't you start off by giving us an intro, because we don't usually see your shining face in front of the camera.
No. Typically, I have a face for radio, which is most oftentimes why you kind of hear my voice as the smart-ass remarks coming from a Buzz Design streams. I'm oftentimes her studio audience, and today the tables are turned a little bit as she's sitting over on the studio couch. Which is going to be interesting, I'm sure. So yeah, most of the time you'll hear me there. You'll see me at events, Murph, Makerfaire Bay Area, Makerfaire New York just recently. So yeah.
So maybe you can give us a little background on what your what you like to make, what your experience with 3D printing is. Give us some details.
So my experience with 3D printing all started when Lauren 3D printed. She had this great idea for the coffee table, which many of you guys know about at this point, and most have seen, and said, you know, it would be a great idea if we got a 3D printer for Christmas so that we could create this coffee table. I use we in the air quotes because I had nothing to do with that coffee table. And I said, okay, great. So we got the 3D printer, the Flash Forge, which is sitting behind me. And I promptly printed a traffic cone and a whistle, and that was my start in 3D printing. Right? I mean, STL's right on the card. You couldn't really complain, so I went with that. And from there, did my video freeze?
It looks like you stalled a little, but we're still hearing you. So
okay,
the show must go on. We'll see.
Like I said, voice for radio, so we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Or face for radio. Anyway. So it's that, and Lauren aptly went to work designing the coffee table, and I said, wow, she is doing some really, really great and interesting things, and this machine could be used for such amazing purposes. And I promptly started printing toys. And that's kind of where I stood for a little while. And then at Murph this year, the first 3D printing event that we went to, I got introduced to many amazing people, but it was Daniel Norea and his open RC project that really kind of caught my interest, and he and I started talking over maybe 1 or 2 pints of adult beverages, and he kind of put down the challenge to create one and to see what I could do with it, and I said, okay, great. And that really kicked off more of my printing. So where Lauren's been doing it for almost a year, I've been tinkering for a year, and then in maybe the last 6 to 9 months, really kind of gotten serious about what I was doing. And from that has come a couple of different versions of the OpenRC, a couple different drones that I've messed around with. And because I love shooting sports, I said, this is a way that I can indulge in other hobbies as well. So
yeah,
there have
absolutely.
been various pieces that have been done to assist in shooting sports or loading magazines or things that have gotten added to certain firearm builds. And then there have been more practical prints that have occurred around the house to help with other hobbies. Like I've got a couple of taps that I want to print for the kegs for the homebrew that I make. So it's kind of become 3D printing's become a fix-all solution to a number of different problems around the house.
Excellent. Excellent. And so, you know, we just got back, spent an awesome weekend in New York for the Maker Faire. Got to meet a bunch of people that, at least I did. You've seen a lot of people that you'd probably met before at Murph and whatnot too, but it was, you know, first time for me to meet, and it was just an amazing experience all around. Was there anything that jumped out at you at Maker Faire as like, whoa, this is really cool? Like, what was your favorite thing you noticed?
There were some really, really cool things there. You know, I went over to Dremel, and the Dremel booth had their new laser cutter, which was really cool, water-cooled laser cutter. Just really kind of an amazing product when they were talking about it. There was a great 5-axis machine that was there that was at the time doing a carving of Ben Franklin, which I thought was really cool. Getting to see the XYZ, the full color printer that they had, that was totally awesome. Part Daddy from the guys at See Me CNC. And every time,
always a hit. Yeah,
every time you see it, it's just kind of awe-inspiring what it's doing and what they're doing with it.
Yeah.
And I got to say, one of the things that I saw that's been getting a ton of love on social media has been Michael, Midnight Giant, and his printing of the BFG, the full-size 37-pound version of it. That had to be one of the coolest and most interesting things that I probably saw there.
Man, how many hours do you think went into that? Did he actually divulge that?
No, I don't think he didn't divulge it outright, but I do know at one point he and I were racing to be the first people to create an OpenRC car in New England, because none had been pinned to the map at that point.
Yeah.
And I had him for a little bit, like, okay, I got to quit because I need to work on this project that's coming, you know. So I knew it was coming when he was making it, but it was just so cool to see the whole thing finished.
Seriously. So who surprised you at Maker Faire? Like, who did you see there that you hadn't met before for the first time, and you're like, oh, that's, you know, either in manner or appearance, you know, there's always that surprise because we interact with each other online, and then, you know, for the first time you're actually, you know, seeing them face to face, and you're like, you are not what I expected.
Welcome to the name drop portion of this stream, by the way, because I have, thankfully, through Murph and through Bay Area, been able to meet a lot of people. So at Murph, Lauren and I had a table right next to Chuck, so Chuck Hellebuck, and got to meet him and spend a lot of time with him. And then Joel is going to spend time with anybody and talk to anybody. So, you know, it was really cool to see them again. Experience. And then the great people at Matter Hackers, who I've had plenty of interaction with, and the people at Printed Solid. But there were, like you were saying, there were plenty of people that I hadn't met. You know, I introduced myself to some people. They had no idea who I was.
To be fair, you looked a lot different. You looked a lot different than you. I didn't have the context.
I actually had hair. I had hair and a beard for Maker Faire in New York, so that just came off today. Two people really stuck out to me that were really cool to get to meet and get to interact with. One was Clayton, Uncle Jesse, because more and more recently I've been looking at kind of that prop world and that and kind of the finishing of products. And so I've been watching a lot more of his videos, and just to get to meet and to interact with him was super cool.
Agreed.
Another one that I really got to have a good interaction with was Preston from Press Reset. Like, Preston was super cool the entire, I mean, that's his hometown. He was showing us around. He was doing some really cool stuff. And, you know, towards the end of the night, well, the end of the Matter Hackers meetup, Preston and I got to, as things thinned down, got to talk a little bit. And it was really cool to meet with him as well. So
yeah. Yeah, you know, it's interesting because for me, I would agree with you. Like, I had never actually spent a lot of time interacting with Uncle Jesse. I'm certainly familiar with his channel. He does amazing stuff and whatnot. But that dude was hilarious to hang out with. I actually have his hat because he was using our apartment as a little launching pad. So we had stuff, and he left it there. So I'm sending him that with the little goodie package and stuff like that. But he was awesome to meet. I would say nobody really like disappointed at all. If anything, it was just like it's kind of funny because you feel like people, you wonder if they have a persona, you know, like meeting Angus and stuff like that, or meeting Joel, like a lot of these big characters and stuff like that, whether or not they're genuinely like that animated, and they are, and it's really cool to see. It's also really cool to see him in that, like, they did a panel on Saturday where they kind of,
that was one of the coolest things. That was one of the coolest moments of Makerfaire, seriously.
right. And they had more people. Like I was a for those of you who don't, I felt like a complete.
Was that the moment you got kicked off stage and security told you needed to go?
Well, you know, Chuck and I had to get a picture, Chuck Helbuck, and you know, the lighting was terrible down in there, so we got up on the stage, and then some stagehand comes out and yells at us. He's like, "Get off the stage! Like, we're gonna hurt the stage." I have no idea. Like, you know, I think it was just a power trip for that guy.
I'm not normally one who rolls on people, and most of the time I'd be okay with it. But I believe it was it Glenn from Fun King 3D who yelled, "Get off the stage," and that's what got you.
I think it's Glenn's fault. I think he outed us because we were just up there for like a second, and that guy came out of nowhere. But you know, whatever. It was a good time. But anyway, it was like the level of how genuine people were, and just, you know, Joel. Anybody that's experienced the Joel show would know that. You know, he, like, when people are constantly rolling up to him, he gets mobbed and stuff like that. And so it's like, you know, watch him. He is so unbelievably animated, though, and it's hilarious to watch. And I don't know how he has the energy for it sometimes.
Yeah, he doesn't stop either. I mean, he's go all the time.
Oh man, so that was cool to see.
Yeah, that was a 45-minute panel, and then he followed it up with probably easily another 45 minutes just in the lobby talking with people.
Yeah.
So.
Well, one of the guys that I met that I really enjoyed was Bob with I Like to Make Stuff. So he's probably one of the biggest channel guys there, right? And I roll up to him on Thursday at the Matter Hackers meetup, and I'm like, "Oh, how's it going?" You know, I introduce myself. I'm like, "So are you a YouTuber?" You know, I'm like coming up to him like, I don't know who it is, and
that guy
that had never seen his channel before, and he was totally cool about it. He's like, "Yeah, you know, I got a," you know, so he and his wife Ginny were there. And he was just a genuine, down-to-earth guy. I think they live in, I want to say Kansas now. Is that right? Or Kentucky?
I thought
one of those K-states. But anyway, you know, since then, of course, I was like subscriber number 1,400,000 and, you know, 77 or something like that. And it was funny just to you know, encounter somebody, and he probably got a kick out of it too. Like, how is it you've never heard of me? Like, everybody else is mobbing him, like, "Hey, how's it going?" and stuff. But I got to spend some time talking to him too on Saturday, and he's just a really down to earth, genuine guy. And you know, you could tell, you know, he's going through, I think, a lot of the growing pains. I think you hit points on your channels where you kind of, you know, you're putting in a lot of work and you're not getting a lot of gain, and then you'll get a big boost again. And so I think a lot of these content creators, you know, really struggle with that, whether, you know, you're trying to get to, say, your first 1,000 or 10,000, or even like when you're past 1 million. And it's really interesting. But
it's a great panel discussion for creators, cool. Content creators, and what they were talking about, you know, how to remain, I don't want to say relevant, but how to kind of keep that going. So that feedback is, where is that coming from?
Yeah. Why don't you tell people what the panel discussion was like? I mean, for people that hadn't seen it, I think it's actually recorded and published, but we'd have to find a link.
I think it might be two. So the panel had, and if I forget people, I apologize. It had two people who had worked from Make that were on there.
Right.
And then Bob was on there, Joel was on there, Angus was on there. I feel like I'm missing somebody that was
well, you know what I'll do? I'll find a link so people can see it. But it was really cool. It was it felt unfortunate that it was so rushed, but I think that the session before it had run long and all this stuff, and you know, we would have been there all day with all the questions that people wanted to ask and everything. So, but that was a really cool experience.
yeah, there was such a wealth of experience on that panel too that I think they really could have talked forever about what was going on there. I mean, the topics, and people kept asking great questions. So
yeah, yeah. So now, I wanted to ask you too. You've been to MRF, I have not been to MRF before, but now you've been to Maker Faire as well. And what was your feel like? How do they compare and contrast?
So they both have their positives, their pros and their cons, I suppose. I will always say that I prefer MRF over the Maker Fairs. Maker Fairs are great. There is a huge wealth of things that you can look at, things that you can do, things that you can experience. And one of the really nice things about this Maker Faire was I was able to walk through the electronics tent with Chuck. And that was an experience because I know very little about electronics and programming, and Chuck at this point has written like 4 books on the subject.
Yeah.
Literally, I'm not kidding. I think Chuck has 4 books on electronics and programming. You might have more. Okay, so
he has more than that even, but maybe not just on electronics. I feel like when I was talking, he said he had like 10 books at some point.
Yeah, Chuck's got a lot of books. I mean, that's
right. Yeah.
So it was really, really cool to walk through kind of that area with Chuck. And being so inexperienced with some of that stuff, Chuck just being like, this is what this does, and this is here, and this is how you can use it. And I was like, okay. And I just realized not only physically how small I was compared to Chuck, but, you know, in the world of making, how small I was to Chuck, which was a great experience when it came to Maker Faire. MRF, in my experience, was different because it's just the 3D printing community. So everybody who's there may have their different interests, and different things going on, but it is all about the celebration of 3D printing and what's happening there. And for me, that was really cool as my first event.
Seriously.
So yeah.
Hey, you should know, Nick, that your celebrity crush is in the chat right now.
I see that. I see my celebrity crush showed.
What's up, Clay? Good to see you,
buddy. Uncle Jesse, you're gonna want to watch the replay, maybe like the first 5-10 minutes of this.
Yeah, when he just gushes about you.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, Clay and I have been immortalized in a pen sketch, and I meant to have it, but I don't know who it is.
That was another cool person. That was Carmelo who did that.
Oh, dude, Mello.
Yeah,
Mello is awesome.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
he was.
Yeah, I don't know where he is tonight. He's probably out partying or something. But man, he was a hoot, dude, and he just like he's another ball of energy. Just loved, was just so excited to be there, and I feel like he's such a humble guy too, because he's got a big following. He's a talented designer and he does all kinds of cool stuff. And I think he is super underrated in terms of like, what he does. But he was there and it was like, oh my God, I'm so excited to meet all these other people. And I'm like, man, they should be excited to meet you. You know, some of his you've seen his models that he's made. I mean, first of all, come on, like the guy is just rolling in just nostalgic material. So you start doing Street Fighter and all these old models that from our youth. I'm a product of the '90s, so I love seeing his stuff every time.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna go back to my celebrity crush for just a minute.
Let's talk about Uncle Jesse.
Yeah, no, I was worried that Uncle Jesse wasn't gonna make it to the airport. And I had offered, and I stood by my offer. If he wouldn't have made his flight, I was going to drive him to Rochester on Sunday on the way home, just so I could spend more time with him.
Yeah, what a guy! That guy he was money though. He knew exactly what he needed. We're out partying, and it was like my flight's in like 20 minutes. It was like really down to the wire, and he's just like, boom, Uber gone, and he probably just ran into the plane. And they probably held the plane.
Uber's going to take me 24 minutes. I've got TSA pre-check. I'm good to go. And I was like, dude, okay. Hey.
Seriously. Yeah. Clayton's saying he made he's talking about Mello again, that Batman mask that he did. I don't know if you've seen that, but that's pretty cool. I mean, all of that stuff is just awesome. But no, he was a hoot, and there's so many great people at the fair. So
yeah, seriously, I think we could both go on for probably the rest of this live stream about the cool people that we met and how great the community is, and still, unfortunately, miss people with everything that was going on.
I gotta say, I'd be a little bit remiss if I didn't give a shout out to my buddy Matt, who made me this sweet bow tie. That was the other thing, man. People were like bringing me stuff. I'm like, this is awesome, dude. Like, listen, it's got a whole bunch of, he handed me like 30 prints that they're like these little modular things that go in there. for like fitting it on the right button, you know, but it's a pretty sweet design. And he actually sells these on his Etsy shop. Now, I don't know, you'd have to commission him to do something custom like that, but I think he's got like NFL teams. He's got that Ravens, at least, because they're big Ravens fans, and other stuff. So if you haven't, if you're not following Matt, he's How I Do It. You should definitely check out his stuff and some of the things that he sells, because he's also the brains behind the Friday night hangout, which is every other Friday. So we're on an off Friday right now for that. But it was really cool to meet him too, after interacting with him so long online. All right. So, you know, moving on. Well, lastly, you know, before we jump off of Maker Faire, you know, did you pick up any favorite swag or anything that jumped out at you? It was like, hey, this is a pretty sweet little promo.
My bag was filled with stickers and all kinds of stuff that was coming out of it. And it was, yeah, I'm watching you pick up your bag there. Like, so much stuff. The hammer, the Uncle Jesse hammer, 3D printed hammer that he gave.
Was awesome. Man, I didn't bring. I have so much. Much, like, first of all, sticker swag. Like, I need to figure out a new sticker wall system, because I still have like Lauren's sticker and Joel's stickers here from before, and I need to get that going. You know, so when I move to the new spot, that's gonna be like priority number one, I think.
So stickers have typically been on the back of my laptop, but that's so filled at this point that Lauren and I were like, you know what, we're gonna have to do a sticker board or a sticker wall or something. Like, it's gonna have to happen. So. Yeah, but I will say probably the favorite swag coming out of the whole thing was the Matter Hackers lanyards that doubled as beer can holders.
Yeah. Little did they know. It's too bad they didn't have like yards, you know, that went with them, because it was like a perfect.
Would have been perfect.
But we made it work, right? I mean, hey, we just clip it on the can. If you haven't seen that, that's on the Twitters.
And cheers to you, sir, for making that happen. That was making at a Maker Faire. That was impressive.
I'm all about remixes, baby.
I spent way too much time with you. I'm doing the talking with the hands, and I can't stop.
That's what happens, man. That's the Italian. You start, you know, just waving your hands around and getting crazy and stuff. That's I can't help it.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm glad to see that the New York speech has left your system.
I could bring it back for you.
I was a little. It can stop. We're good.
Okay, but really quick. Funny story. So we stayed in a house. Not but I was in a house with Alex from Protopasta. We found an Airbnb, got like a whole house. Sergeant Ballistic. If you haven't seen his channel, check him out. He does a lot of system building, like computer stuff. And then Tinkers, everybody knows, because he's just Mr. #1 commentary on Twitter as well. So we all shared a house. It's like just cute old neighborhood of Flushing and Queens, and you know, with the old Jewish women running around, and it was right in the middle of Rosh Hashanah, so everybody's out, you know, kind of celebrating the New Year and stuff. And it was like what you saw off a coffee talk. You know, the ladies would talk, and they're like, Lois, I had to go down to the store and get a new brassiere. You know, like, I swear to God, that was like what I overheard somebody saying. I'm like, oh my God, you know, like, this is hilarious.
There was so much verklempping, it was ridiculous.
Yeah. it was awesome. So, you know, that was the authentic New York experience, and we had a good time with it for sure. Let's talk about ERRF a little bit, because
let's talk about it.
Man, how cool is that? Okay, so it's awesome to see a show like Murph, you know, growing to the stature where it's like, hey, let's spin off another channel. So why don't you start by telling us what your involvement has been, and you know, I know you were promoting it while you were there.
Yeah. So coming out of Murph this year, there was a group of people who said, man, this is a fantastic event. We should look at making this more accessible to people, because not that Goshen, Indiana isn't accessible, but it's a little bit of a drive from anywhere.
Yeah.
So we said, you know, it'd be great to do something like this on the East Coast. And that started to lead to conversations amongst a bunch of different people. And it was really kind of the people at Printed Solid, Matt and Chris, who really kind of brought the conversation to the table.
Okay.
And they reached out to say, you know, are there other people who would be interested? And Lauren and I both said, yeah, this would, you know, I think this would be great as well. And then Vicky Sama, who's on here as well, and Twitter is TGAW, I believe.
Right.
She became part of it. She was part of it. And so it's kind of how all of this formed, just a bunch of people saying, wow, Murph was really awesome. We should look at doing something like this on the East Coast.
So now, is there a collaborative, like, is it organized and run by the same people, or is this like really its own thing?
It is not. It's its own thing. So MRF is organized and run by the fine people over at CME CNC.
Right.
Because they're housed or were housed in Goshen. That's why Goshen is where that had started.
Right.
This was just us saying, hey, CME CNC, would you be okay if we did something like this on the East Coast, and getting their permission, and then kind of moving forward from there. So.
Okay, that's good. So, I mean, are they advising on it? Are they obviously they're in support of the maker movement in general?
Yep. There have been bunches of conversations with John over at CME CNC, kind of about, okay, so how did you guys make this happen? What's it look like for you guys when you're doing it? What are pitfalls that you guys have learned in the years that you've been doing it, so that we can learn from that and kind of go with it? So we want to keep it authentic to the idea of MRF and, you know, bringing the whole 3D printing community together. At the same time, we also kind of want to have our own stamp on it. So while it's going to have a lot of the same things, you're going to have sponsorship, you're going to have those tables where people can come, you're going to have the ability for people to bring whatever they're working on or whatever they've developed to it and kind of show that off. It's going to be a different venue, because for anybody who's been to MRF and Goshen, you're at I believe it's a 4-H club, and it's a big, long building where everything's at.
Right.
The locations that we're looking at, you oftentimes don't find the same things on the East Coast. So
sure. And tell people where you're looking at specifically, because I know the location itself hasn't been locked in yet.
The location itself hasn't officially been locked in yet, but we're looking at Bel Air, Maryland, which is about 30 minutes from Baltimore. It's about an hour and a half from DC. I think it's about an hour and a half, hour and three-quarter from Philadelphia. It's about a 2.5-hour drive, I think, from New York City. So it's pretty central, central coast, central East Coast.
That's awesome. And I think it'll be, you know, as that takes off, hopefully it makes it more accessible, you know, globally and internationally. Obviously, you're near some of the biggest airports in our country, you know, and I think that gives it a lot of potential. So you guys are wise in that thing. That was going to be my next question. It's like, why now? Obviously, for you, you're East Coast, so you want to encourage something that's East Coast, but seems like there's no reason there couldn't be a West Coast or a Gulf Coast or a Dalmatian coast or any other coast.
Absolutely. I would hope that it's a kickoff. I think we all hope that it's kind of a kickoff to the similar types of events on the West Coast, on the Gulf Coast. We don't have a northern coast unless we want to do it on one of the Great Lakes, I guess, but that's stuff too much in Goshen. Yeah, so
Canada is
East Coast really came from the right. East Coast really came from the fact that everybody who was looking at it at that moment was here on the East Coast. You got Lauren and I up in the Northeast. You got, you know, Matt and Vicky a little bit down, kind of mid-coast region. So yeah.
So how are you guys organizing this? Are you you formed a committee and you know, decided who's going to take on which roles and getting you know, because obviously you're going to want to get, you know, corporate sponsorships and just you know, marketing out and all kinds of stuff that goes into fair planning.
It became the incorporation of, well, it became the incorporation. We had to file an articles of incorporation to create an LLC to be able to do this.
Sure.
To look at the various aspects of that. And because of that, yes, we have board members, and you are talking to the ERRF secretary, or the 3DP. 3DPE, I believe, is the name of the 3DP Events is the name of the LLC, and I am the secretary. So for Administrative Assistance Day, I'm always looking for something in my mailbox.
Is your handwriting really good enough for that kind of role there, Nick?
I type everything. My handwriting's horrible. I can barely read my handwriting.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So you're secretary. So who else is spare? I know you mentioned, you know, Matt and Dave from Printed Solid. I'm assuming they've got a big role.
So Matt and Dave actually kind of took a step out of it. They brought us all together to talk about it, and they're going to be, I think they're going to be a big portion. They want to be a big portion of it. Okay. But they actually didn't join in with 3DP Events as we were doing it. Okay. So Chris Koleski, who was also at New York Makerfaire, advertising for ERRF. Yes, distinguishable by the awesome mustache.
Chris, what's his handle on Twitter? But yeah, you know him from Handlebars.
He is MP Chris 1 on Twitter.
MP Chris 1.
So Chris is the president of 3DP Events. Lauren at Buzz Designs is our vice president for 3DP Events.
I've heard.
Yeah, you're vice president.
Oh, okay.
When I have to, I'm the secretary. I know who everybody is. You're our vice president.
He keeps the minutes.
Oh man. And then Vicky Soma, who I believe Lauren posted her Twitter handle earlier. Vicky is our treasurer for 3DP events, and the four of us really make up the board for 3DP events, which is going to be putting on ERRF. So.
Do you guys have any corporate commitments at this point you can tease, or is that all still in the?
Because we haven't officially signed with any particular venue. Yep. We haven't gotten any particular corporate sponsorship yet either. So I'm not gonna tease something yet because I can't.
I understand it's still a little bit early. And then as far as what dates you're targeting, talk about that. Like
so the dates are looking at late June, early July. Obviously not the July 4th weekend because we don't want that interfering with anybody's holiday. So we've got 2 potential weekends the end of June and 1 potential weekend the end of July. And as soon as before people start worrying about the mid coast or that area in the summertime and the humidity, the facility we're looking at is fully air conditioned, folks. So you can bring your printers and print PLA without having to worry.
I'll tell you what. That's huge because it got hot on Sunday at Makerfaire. People were melting. Unseasonably hot for New York for sure.
I believe that Josef Prusha managed to melt Daniel Noray's train.
I saw that in Joel's interview. That was it did get pretty hot for sure. People were not expecting that. I was definitely overdressed. I always think. I'm going to the East Coast. I better bring a coat and stuff like that. You could have been fine in just shorts and a t-shirt the entire week.
I missed the boat on the shorts thing. I had jeans. I was like, this is the worst idea I've ever had. I don't know why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So I did actually. I wanted to jump back for a second, right? Because you were asking about corporate sponsorship, and while there's a chance for corporate sponsorship, and there's going to be different sponsorship levels, and tables and displays. And all that fun stuff and other things that we can do. There is actually, if you go to the ERRF website, which is East Coast RepRapFest.com.
We'll put a link in the description so people can access.
Or through the ERRF Facebook page as well. We have set up a GoFundMe account so that if people want to donate, not that they have to, but if people want to donate and want to be part of it in that way, it's absolutely welcome.
Awesome. So. Awesome. Well, that's good to hear because obviously when you're getting off the ground, every little bit helps. And I think that you're going to have a lot of people take a lot of interest, especially just with how much more accessible your location will potentially be. I'll be curious to know too, have you given any thought to like any marketing efforts for our friends over across the pond?
We've talked to a bunch of people. I mean, we talked to Josef a little bit while we were at Makerfaire. We've talked to a bunch of different corporate people. I say corporate people. We've talked to a bunch of different companies about things, but again, because we don't have that paperwork, we don't have the lease officially signed yet. We don't want to go ahead and start that without having all of our ducks in a row. So.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So we're still early on the game, but these things they take time to plan, and summer 2018 will be here before you know it, right?
Absolutely. So I will say, I mean, one of the great parts of Makerfaire was the people that we were talking to about it were so excited. Chris has a great interaction with somebody that he was telling about ERRF, and the person's like, oh my God, that's local for us. And Chris is like, oh, you live in the Maryland, Delaware, Virginia area? And the person's like, no, we live in Florida. And we were like, how is that local? And they're like, it's not Goshen. And I was like,
it's not
yeah,
Goshen.
That's a good point. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Well, poor Goshen. Let's not bash on Goshen too much because Murph.
I love Goshen. It is the only place that I have ever seen a horse-drawn carriage coming out of a Mickey D's drive-thru. Not gonna lie. Fantastic. Not gonna lie.
Fantastic. Well, listen, you mentioned donations on the site, but are there other ways that people can get involved to help if they, don't necessarily just want to throw some cash away?
Looking for any kind of assistance that people want to be able to give. Was able to meet a bunch of people at Murph, oh my God, at Makerfaire, who offered their assistance. You do it, how I do it, both jump in. Matt was able to say, look, it's not that far away. It's great. So there have been a lot of people who have been interested in doing that in a bunch of different ways. If you go to the East Coast RepRap website, the ERRF website, there are email addresses set up, one info@eastcoastreprapfest.com. Lauren's got one set up there. I do, Chris does, Vicky does. reaching out to any one of us and saying, hey, look, I want to be a part of that, more than happy to look at ways that we can make that happen.
Good. Well, you got people in the chat already.
Yeah, I'm watching the chat. I'm seeing it.
Yeah, this is awesome.
People putting the website out there, people saying, yep, I want to help. I love it. And we appreciate it. Like, there's been so much love since we announced this. We put the Facebook page up just before Chris and I went to Makerfaire. And in this week alone, I think we've got 46 different likes, you know, and that all jumped real quick. And it was like,
that doesn't surprise me at all, man. This community is just awesome to be part of. You know, like Chris over at Print 3D, he always says, you know, aloha, my internet family. And it really does feel that way a lot of the time. So, you know, I couldn't agree more with that sentiment. Anybody on the chat, if you guys have some questions about ERRF or Makerfaire or anything, throw them at me. Why don't you tag my name on it so it like shows up, because it's kind of hard to keep track as we're going. I'll keep queuing off of what I've got here. But let's get into the weeds a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, you know, we talked about, obviously it's still early in the game, still locking in on, you know, individuals and companies that are going to be, you know, front and center. But I think we have a good hint of, you know, a couple key players that'll definitely be there. Hold on a second here. Deruso is saying I missed his question. Let me see if it was a serious one.
I know. I'm looking to see if I'm trying to see it as well.
Did I get you your stickers and your filament? Yes, I did, Jeff. I did. Of course, I always have your stickers and your filament. Let's see here. All right, that's that for now. I guess one of the other things I wanted to just ask you personally is like, what was your inspiration, you know, for getting involved? Obviously, you know, being adjacent to Lauren and just part of the community for a while now, it seemed like a thing. But do you have a background in event planning, or did you just get kind of roped in?
With me, whether he liked it or not.
And there we go. The comments from the gallery.
Can you repeat it?
Lauren said, I dragged him along with me, whether he liked it or not.
And that's key to being a good spouse, for sure.
I'm not going to disagree with that. I've got, so some of my experience has been that, you know, I'm a people person. For those who have met me, I've never failed to have kind of a crowd, or I've got no problem talking with people or what's going on there. And I just like that environment, what's happening there. Prior to moving into my current role where I get to work from home, I was really kind of in a corporate planning. I was a program manager for a program in a company, and there was a lot that was going on there around kind of planning and the budgeting aspect of things, getting things set up. And so I was like, yeah, okay, I can bring this to the table. But what I really like bringing to the table is going out and meeting with people, talking with people, getting the word out there, doing that kind of stuff. So
sure. So we talked earlier about, you know, differences between like a Makerfaire and this. Now, obviously, like a Makerfaire, that's a modal multimedia extravaganza, and this is something a little bit more dialed in and specific to 3D printing and you know, the making around that, and RepRap even more specifically being you know, parts and being able to make a printer from, you know, common parts to replicate. So, you know, obviously there's a lot of big, you know, companies that were born of that movement that still support it. But you know, you don't necessarily need to, you're not just going to necessarily see only kit printers or anything there. You see all kinds of.
I would imagine if it mirrors MRF, and based on the community, I think it probably will a little bit in that sense. I think you're going to see a lot of cool things. I mean, MRF had a ton of really interesting things that was going on there. People bringing stuff out there, things that they had put together. It was more than just kits. It was definitely, you know, people doing their own things and what was working on there, or you know, what they're working on. So
yeah. Well, you've already got some offers for tech support, and
seeing that.
Think of it as a take time to talk to your son. That's cool. Yep. You do it.
Oh, that You Do It has created, for those who don't know, check out, and I hope he has the videos, created a music studio for his son in the house, and the photos of it on his phone were amazing. So I'm hoping he's got it online. I'm pushing it right now because it was so cool to see that.
It sounds like he's got a bunch of footage to edit still, because I saw he had a good rig with him walking around the show at Makerfaire, And I think that's always the challenge, you know. Just to jump back on Maker Faire, like I think one of the reasons you and I might have been cut from the same cloth is like, you know, we're there and I took a bunch of pictures and I did a little bit of video and stuff like that. But for the most part, like it was really about experiencing it, and it's harder to do that when you're behind the lens all the time. So you got to find that balance for sure.
Yeah. Oh, so I'm seeing it now. Music Studios on the front page of my channel. Grab my link. I will make sure that it gets in there. Actually, Lauren, are you working on this?
No.
Okay, Lauren's not working on this.
Here, can we mod Lauren here?
We're gonna mod. You
know, it's only fair, Lauren, that you get put to work considering all the stuff that. And where's Nick's Frosty tonight, huh? What's up with that? Frosties in a pint are not your thing, huh, man?
Frosty's in a pint glass. It's fine. You do
right,
it.
you're modded.
Page, if you want to put the link for that in the chat.
Yeah. No. You do it. I definitely recommend going back in his catalog. He's done just some amazing stuff. His LED setups in those rooms, and man, just the creative. I feel like such a hack compared to like so many of these people out here.
I'm printing things on the Thingiverse and finishing them like, oh yeah, I'm accomplished now.
I told you, man, I'm a remixer. You know, like I'm built on the shoulder of giants, and that's how I roll. But I don't claim to be anything else. I like to think I'm a connector. I have a good time interacting with people, and you know, obviously, it's just been an honor to be involved in the community, and that's helped my business and in supporting what I do immensely. So, all right, DeRusso, all right, hit us up with that message later. Let's see. Your wife calls you a dork. Yeah, that comes with the territory. You know,
and there's nothing wrong with that. No. By the way, that was something I think you do it. I think I was talking to your son about this in the studio or the theater lobby after the fact. Like, everybody is a dork in some way. You just got to embrace it and be like, yeah, you know what? This is where I belong. I'm okay with it. I'm sorry, that's the therapist part of me coming out now.
No, it's true. You got to embrace your nerd because it's who you are, right? It's hilarious. Matt mentions, you know, having a GoPro on your shoulder certainly helps with being able to you know, enjoy the fair without having to necessarily like be, you know, behind the camera all the time. And that's true. And a lot of people were doing that. In fact, Evan and Caitlin, if you haven't seen their channel, they are a couple. You know, that's an interesting segue in and of itself, because, you know, there are very few couples that, you know, do this. I know that, you know, you and Lauren obviously, but you're not doing the same collab. But anyway, Evan had he had a GoPro on his shoulder, and a bunch of other people did too. And my fear with that for myself is I'd forget that it was on, and I'd probably, you know, walk into the bathroom or something terrible like that.
There would be so
you're
much
not live streaming it, but
yeah, there would be so much editing that would have to occur. Like, if that were the case, I would be, it'd be a full-time job to edit that.
Seriously. It's just I don't have the time to wade through the footage, because, you know, it's gotten so much better. I mean, I've been doing videos since back in the day where it was like, you know, well, it was like VHS, like on your shoulder when I was a kid, but like the mini DV, and you could only capture it in real time, and then you would go back through your clips, and I mean, it took forever. And so it's gotten a lot better that you can just like boom, pull them off an SD card or something like that now. But it is a lot of work, and if you you know, if you haven't spent a lot of time doing content creation, I think it's truly hard to appreciate and empathize what a lot of these creators go through. So, you know, people that are smart like Joel, you know, you realize when you grow to a certain point, if you want to continue to do so, like, you have to be able to let go of a lot of that work yourself, and it's worth, you know, spending some money. So now Joel, you know, I know he is very passionate about all this stuff, and he hired an editor, and he was telling me how that, you know, that was a step, but
yeah, Sean is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sad Sean wasn't there. Sean's a really, really cool guy.
Yeah. Well, that's not a big surprise. You know, everybody that's been around has been a big surprise. Print 3D, Jeff says editing is an art form that not many people grasp, and I completely agree with that. It's a lot of work, and it's funny because it's something that's almost a necessary evil as a content creator, and that's kind of one of the commonalities that everybody on YouTube or you know, that has a content creator can relate to, because even if it's not your passion, you know, it's like that's your that's your means of bringing yourself to the world. So you kind of have to have some understanding of editing. And there's you know, there's a number of different tools and depths that people go, but I have a lot of respect for it, for sure.
Oh yeah, watching Lauren edit the videos and everything that she's doing, I'm like, yeah, okay. I want to create my page. I want to create content. I don't know if I have that kind of patience.
It makes me wonder if like this kind of thing is cheating, because like I really like this because it means like, well, it's in the can and it's there and it's up, and hopefully there's some tidbits in there. I know I need to spend a little bit more time bookmarking stuff, or you know, doing like an index of what was talked about, but you know, that's definitely easier than going through the full edits and stuff. And I have other video and stuff too, but you know, when the time tightens up, unfortunately, those things are the first thing to go by the wayside. So you know, we've kind of
Jeff going to help out with all kinds of things. I'm looking at the chat. He knows the pain in editing. He's willing to help. We got tech support. He's going to help me with edit. Jeff, we're going to have to. Oh, yeah, we're going to chat.
We got some jack of all trades over there. Yeah, no, DeRusso, yeah, he's an accomplished modeler as well too. I know he knows his. I believe Lauren got to wield Thor's hammer that he had 3D printed when we were at the Maker Faire or the Matter Hackers meetup in prior to Bay Area Maker Faire. So I was told there's an epic picture of this. Epic, it's epic. Awesome.
I wouldn't believe anything else, actually.
So I say, well, lastly, is there anything else on the ERRF front that you want to plug or make sure is known before we kind of wrap on that for now? I'm sure we'll talk about it much more as it comes up.
So I know one of the things that, you know, we wanted ERRF to be similar but different from Murph and the event there as well. We wanted to kind of put our own stamp on it. And so there's going to be speaking like there was at Murph, and people are going to be able to come up and talk and that, you know, and we're looking at doing potentially a dinner after the event on Saturday night, similar to what they do at Murph. But one of the great ideas that I think came out of this is we're actually going to have a Pinewood Derby, a 3D printed car Pinewood Derby, similar to any of those experiences you might have had as a kid growing up, where you can model your own Pinewood Derby car, 3D print it, bring it to the event as long as it conforms to kind of the rules of it, and we're going to have a track for it and everything. So we may have some ongoing 3D printing Pinewood Derby races throughout the day, and you know, I know Chris is so excited about it that he brought 2 cars to Maker Faire, and he's like, "What do you think of these?" And I'm like, "Really? You're sharing designs with me?" No, he's like, "I got it." And I was like, "You know, I'm gonna private message Daniel Norea, and we're gonna get on this. I mean, if he can print an RC car, I'm pretty sure I can get him to help me with a Pinewood Derby car." So
that's a fantastic person to have on your side, man. I mean, I think everybody here knows who Daniel Norea is, but.
Yeah. So, and if you don't, please go look up the Open RC.
His pedigree is impressive. Like, I guarantee you've come across his stuff. Benchies is his.
I was going to say, you've printed a Benchy, you've done a wrench, you've done a
Yeah, you've definitely seen his stuff. So check him out as well if you haven't. I don't know how you'd miss him. You'd be like me, where you're under a rock with Bob, and I like to make stuff.
With Bob, yeah.
Awesome, dude. I think that's a great idea. Now, do these Pinewood Derbies, do they have to be made out of wood fill? Is that a stipulation?
They don't have to be made out of wood fill. You can print them out of anything you want. NL, TMW, Nick, Glittermobile. I love it. That may happen. That may have to happen now. Just this thing that'll never win, but is all glittery and amazing.
You might have a good consultant to work with on that. Tacos. Oh, Practical wants to know if there's going to be tacos. I think that'll be key to attracting a crowd as well. That might bring the element you're looking for.
I don't know if I want the kind of crowd that tacos is going to bring if that's what Practical is looking for. I'm worried.
Taco RepRap. Well, we're talking authentic street tacos that have cilantro in them, or just more of your Taco Bell style tacos. That's a whole nother crowd.
Yeah,
for sure. Well, awesome, dude. I mean, I'm really excited to see how this thing evolves. We need to make sure that the conversation keeps going, and that you keep the energy up around it, and that people can be made aware of how they can contribute to the whole thing. I think as your vendor lists come in, and your sponsor list, that is, You know, and that's going to help, you know, build a lot of excitement and stuff too. And you know, whatever I can do to help here as well, you know how to reach me.
There is absolutely, I mean, like I said, we've got the Facebook page, we've got the web page, there's a Twitter account for it. And as these things continue to come up, you know, as we get the venue booked, as the dates are finally decided upon, as we start getting the sponsors, those things are going to keep coming out in those forums to let people know that, you know, this is what's going on. So it's going to continue to build. I mean, this has been a project that we've been having for a while. We were having weekly conference calls on from, let's call it end of April until probably mid-August, and then we kind of moved them to bi-weekly. But it is
probably no, it was originally supposed to be November.
Yeah, we had originally talked about trying to do it in November of this year, but when you start looking at everything that goes into it, we were like, okay, let's push that back a little bit. Let's make sure we're doing this right. So
yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, it's probably like wedding planning in some, you know, to some extent for people that can relate to that, you know, like it always gets there faster than you think, and something's going to go wrong, if not 10 things. You know, I'm excited for you guys. I think it's awesome that you've spearheaded this thing, and I hope that it's the start of, you know, seeing more of this, you know, nationwide and even worldwide, because, you know, there's no doubt in my mind that the maker movement is alive and well and growing. And I hear from it every day. People, oh, I'm new to 3D printing, and what do you recommend, and what printer, and what filament, and all that great stuff. So if that's any indication, the future.
Well, I mean, I'm just looking at based on the excitement in the chat. I'm seeing, you know, Martine from 3D Print Iceland saying, I'd love to fly over and go to an event like this. I'm going to tell you, you're welcome to. We'd love to have you.
Yes, indeed. And you do it saying he wants a press badge. Are you gonna have a sweet press lounge and be giving out press kits?
I believe there's going to be a board lounge, and from what I understand, possibly a media lounge as well. So
VIP, baby, come on.
Good.
Awesome. Well, cool. So just to wrap up with you then, so you know, on a personal note, I got to ask you, man, when are we going to see some more content from you personally? Obviously, you got some chops, you got some skills, and we've been ribbing you to get a stream going for a while. I had talked to Daniel Norea about this prior to Makerfaire, and I said, Makerfaire, I might get a lot of footage, and I see what's going to happen there, and that might be the launch for my page. Yeah.
And then Makerfaire became a little bit more about, okay, let's get ERRF off, because ERRF is bigger than me. And
oh, how selfless of you. I love it.
Well, I mean, that's really hard, because I've got a massive ego. To say something's bigger than me is kind of,
Let's go with your massive head.
Children.
I'm sorry.
Right. Lauren,
I'm teasing. That's low-hanging fruit right there.
Yeah, my ego eats small children. I mean, I'm really, you know, I'm going to give Matt at How I Do It all kinds of credit, because he left his young kids around my ego, and they survived. So that was impressive. So Matt, good parenting.
Before I forget, I have a great clip of Matt's daughter saying, "Shut up, Matt." That's going to be like the next, you know, meme. Just like it can be like a meme inside of our group. Shut up, Matt. It's cute and hilarious all at the same time. Yeah, no, he's been an inspiration. And Nick, you know, I was gonna say it's not ego, man. It's a fine line between, you know, healthy self-esteem and, you know, narcissist. So you walk it well, man.
Big, it's very thin line between cocky and confident.
You flirt with that line. You flirt with it. Awesome, dude. And so everybody's been dying to
content. Yeah, I want to jump into doing more content. You know, Lauren's got the 3D printing thing nailed. I mean, in our house, she's the one who I go to for questions about it. When it comes to, with the exception of kind of anything carbon fiber, in that case, I'm messing around with it, you know. So while I love doing the 3D printing stuff, and that will definitely be content that I want to put out there, there's a lot of other stuff that I do too. I love brewing, and so I'm thinking that some of the things that may end up on my channel may be brew related or maybe fermenting related. So we may be brewing some beer on the VFP channel, or we may be making some wine.
You got to go with it. Is that a thing? You think there's an audience there?
I'm not sure. I've hung out with a bunch of makers, and I'm not sure how they feel about the subject of alcohol most of the time.
Oh man, I think that's a fantastic opportunity right there. You definitely just dial in on just that. That's awesome.
So yeah, I think it's definitely gonna be a channel about making, but I think the variety of making is gonna be different. There's gonna be 3D printing that's gonna be involved. There'll be some brewing that'll be involved. I've got a couple of projects up here in the Northeast. Winter is coming, and
Literally.
I was actually talking to Chuck that I want to motorize the snowblower on my tractor this year, so I don't have to do as much lifting and all that stuff. So he and I talked a little bit about what the electronics for that would look like and how to hook those up. So.
Uh-oh, wait, I'm still here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what happened?
It's this camera, like, it goes to sleep after like an hour, so that's my signal too. Sorry. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm excited, man. I want to see it. I've been encouraging you. I'm your biggest fan. I've been trying to encourage you for a while now, and anything to feed that ego. I'm sure Lauren appreciates that.
Well, it was funny. I had this conversation. You weren't the only one who asked me at Maker Faire about that. Travis, A Pyro Design, asked me about it. And actually, when I was talking to Preston after the Matter Hackers meetup, he asked me about it. Yeah. And I said, yeah, I'm looking at doing it, and I'm probably going to get to it, and probably be some live streaming as well, just because of that. Jeffrey with the OK Game of Thrones. Yeah, winter is coming, Jeffrey. Started talking about it, and I said, it's that 100 subscriber thing that I'm worried about when I was talking to Preston, because I know he had a little bit of an issue getting there, and he's like, oh, with all the people, that's not going to be people are just going to subscribe because, and I was like, okay, well, we'll see, but yeah, Arduino powered coffee maker, what?
Because why not? IoT.
Tony, I like this. I like this Arduino controlled brew system. I'm thinking this might be something we can mess with.
You can slap an Arduino on anything and make it awesome, Like, the problem is you don't want people hacking it and then messing with your levels and stuff. You got some security issues there. People are dying to know. Question: have you gotten that ANET A8 running yet? Obviously, you haven't burned the house down, so that's something.
So yes, the ANET has been revamped. It's got a new power supply unit on it. The wiring has been changed over. It's got an on-off switch that is fused. Thicker gauge wire has been put on it. The heated, yeah, absolutely. The heated bed now has a MOSFET that's hooked up to it. There have been a couple of printed upgrades that have been added to it to add some stability to the frame, and a couple other things that still need to get printed before I actually have that all up and running. Well, as nicely finished off as I want to. But yes, ANET is running. It is safer. Yes, Tony Ryan, Crispy is doing okay.
Crispy is a great name for that. We glossed over this, but I think it's important because one of the big announcements at Maker Faire, obviously the Prusa MK3. This is really more of a question for Lauren, but like, any regret not waiting to see what happened there, or are you going to upgrade? Because they did say that it wasn't going to be an exact upgrade path, but there was, or are you going to get a whole nother one entirely?
So I I had a second to talk with Joseph out behind the tents at Maker Faire, and I said, look, Lauren's in Poland right now. She just texted me. She said, do we need an MK3 or are we okay with the 2S?
What's he going to say to that?
Probably not the person to ask. But Joseph said, yeah, you need the 3. And I said, you're going to tell me that. I know you're going to tell me that. But why do I need the 3? And then he started going through the list of features and everything that was different and everything that changed. And he's like, look, it's not going to change the quality of prints. And he was honest about that. He said, you're going to get a good print no matter what you print off of. He goes, this is going to make the experience that much easier.
Exactly.
So
the funny thing is, I had already ordered it before I even got that response.
So
you knew, Lauren.
Before even sending the response back in a tweet, I get, yeah, don't worry, I've already pre-ordered it. So I went over to Joseph and I said, so apparently we're getting an MK3. And he went, oh yeah, I know, I already saw. I was like, awesome. Well then.
He's like, yeah, your order number, 22 or something like that. He's already got. It's tied to his phone. I think he gets a buzz every time somebody orders. It's the sound of money, ching. No, honestly, it looks like an awesome printer, a lot of good upgrades to it. I mean, I think it's a good call. And honestly, for somebody that's going to use it the way that Lauren does, it's like that impacts your bottom line substantially.
That might mean that might mean I get to use the 2S.
Yeah. Well, who knows?
I mean, I might get to move from the ANET and the Flash Forge occasionally to maybe using the 2S.
If you're lucky. But hey, you know, you get banished to the land of misfit printers with the other. I don't know. I'd say Lauren's probably pretty invested in that thing after all the fixes that she's had to do on that. I don't think she'd part with that as easy as you might think.
No, I don't think that's going to happen either. I think there's going to be a Prusa corner to the studio. I'm guessing kind of over here.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to get pushed into. I'm going to get pushed into my own workshop in the basement, which I'm not going to complain about. So.
That's good. Well, it's good to have a place. Well, man, it's been awesome talking to you. I appreciate you guys spending the time on your Friday evening.
Thanks for having me.
I am very thankful for all of you guys out in the chat who are watching, and anybody that's going to watch this in the future. This has been a lot of fun. I'm hoping to do more of these things. Nick, you want to close up with anything? You want to tease anything other than, you know, ERRF we've already kind of dealt with?
You know, I was concerned. I was concerned about some ambush journalism occurring during this interview.
I took it easy on you.
I was glad to see it didn't happen. Yeah. No, you know, short of looking for in the future, and I can't be exactly sure when, but you know, launch of my own maybe content creation on ERRF that's coming up. No, Lauren, anything you need to push right now?
I will be live streaming on Monday.
And she will be back to
at it. Awesome.
You'll be back to live streaming on Monday.
I'm hoping to have a new video to release this week, but I can't guarantee that as I'm trying to get all caught up from being on vacation. But for sure, live stream will catch up and chit chat about what I've missed and what's been happening on Monday.
Awesome. Well, you know, speaking of ambush journalism, here's a little tidbit for you guys, a little Easter egg. So when we were at Maker Faire, Nick got a call from Lauren from Poland, and I ambushed her, took the phone for her, you know, and said, you know, hey, Lauren, it's Pooch, and we're really bummed that you're not here. And she was not happy to talk to me. I'll tell you. She's like, what the hell is going on? I think she was really bummed that she couldn't be there, and that was a tough experience. But it sounds like it was a good trip, huh?
It was.
Good.
It was.
Good.
I'm glad to be home.
Glad to be home. Well, you know, that's the joys of traveling with family sometimes. All right. Well, as far as what I want to tease, so I'm going to get back to my regular schedule. I've been traveling the last 2 Wednesdays, so we haven't done the Hump Day RepRapUp in 2 weeks now. But I'm going to go back to that this coming Wednesday, and I'm going to talk about my Adopt-A-Bot experience in Philly, which was awesome. And we'll see. I'm still waiting on seeing if I'll have a guest for that one or not. But either way, I will say what went down with that. I mean, it was a surreal experience. I really am looking forward to doing some more of that with my own kids and with a couple of other schools that I've partnered with already. So, and then hopefully we can get into the discussion of how makers that maybe don't have a teaching experience or whatever could get involved should they want to. So that'll be good. And then also coming up on the educational front for me this month is the Intro to Tinkercad class that I'll be teaching. And so I got some really good ideas, again, while I was in Philly talking to the teacher I was working with there that I donated the Adopt-A-Bot to. And I'm feeling less anxious about that, having never really officially taught anything before. So that should be cool too. So we'll talk education a little bit. I do have an unboxing that I really want to do, so I'm hoping to get in on that on in Wednesday as well. Just a quick plug, Jeff at G3 Machining out in Ohio. I've been working with him on some of the prototyping work that I do, and he sent me a whole bunch of swag, and you know, I really wanted to show off what their abilities are because, man, he first of all, he has like every printer you can possibly imagine, you know, the Type A machines, the Zotrax, the, you know, the BCN 3D, and just really good high-end industrial stuff. And he was just a pleasure to work with in terms of like helping me in my production capacity. Because I don't know, for those of you who hadn't seen, like I've been kind of looking for a more robust printer to do some production with here, because a lot of these kit printers aren't really up for mass production. But now I'm second guessing that, because with somebody like Jeff who can do that for me at a very reasonable cost, You know, that's nice to put it on him. But anyway, I'll do an unboxing of his stuff on Wednesday as well. And yeah, so more exciting stuff to come. Awesome. That said, Nick, Lauren, thank you so much again for your time. We had a fantastic time this evening. Please subscribe if you are not. I don't know what you're doing here. If you don't already know Van Full of Puppies and Buzz Designs, make sure you're following, because a lot of times people don't realize that they're not even following them, Nick. And I mean, they're doing amazing stuff all the time. I'm really flattered that they agreed to join me for this. And we will talk to you soon. So, signing off for tonight. This is Pooch. Everybody, make on.